Welcome to the Bill Cartwright Show with Steve Cohen. Our special guest today is Mr. Don Levin. Don, welcome to the show.
Hello, Bill. Hello, Steve.
Now, what's always interesting to me is that is just being able to talk about people as they grew up. Of course, we've known each other for such a long time. Tell me a little bit about, what I don't know is tell me about your dad and mom as we were growing up. I knew what your dad did, but let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. You took advantage of that once or twice, if I remember correctly. Old secrets. My dad and my mom, used to come out to the house, and we lived out there by Valley High Country Club, and used to come out there, and we'd go and hit a few golf balls and eat my parents' food. And my dad was an attorney, as you know. My mom was real estate. My mom's still around. My dad passed away a few years ago, but they all it was great. They all knew Bill since when I met Bill in 1971. So it's been 50 years now since Bill and I have known each other. So we were just talking the other day. We're probably the longest, friendship that we've stuck around with for each other so it's been really interesting. But yeah, my parents are great. My mom still is great. It's good. I miss my dad. You miss your mom. I understand. It's tough, but you get older, stuff happens. But yeah, so I was lucky to move out to Elk Grove, out to Valley High there, where I met a bunch of other friends, and we've had our whole lives growing up now. But so that was good. I was happy with that.
Could you explain why you feel lucky to know Bill? In case people are questioning why you feel lucky.
Now I'd say if I could be totally straight right here. I don't know if I can, Steve. No, Bill and I met him when he was a kid, and he had a broken arm, and in a class we had at junior high, and I don't know. It's just when I first time he played basketball, and we ended up, he played basketball, so do I. So we were playing on the team, and it was like he was just a friend from then. That was just it from then. They just happened to be whatever. I knew. We always laugh and say, I knew Bill Wynn, or whatever, however you want to say it. So yeah, it's been. I felt I've been lucky to know the guy for all those years. He's been there when I've needed him, and hopefully vice versa. We've crossed paths for 50 years, across the country and around. His oldest was proud to give me chicken pox one year on my way overseas, and but we've had a lot of things. Yeah, it's been a great 50 years knowing him.
Can you talk about, as you went to Elk Grove High School, now we went to junior high school together as well at Joseph Kerr, but talk about your introduction to golf and talk about your golfing career at Elk Grove High School.
Yeah. My dad, was a pretty decent golfer. He's pretty good. He's club champ a bunch of times at Valley High, and he kind of wanted to get me into it. So I started when I was about 8 years old, and just kind of, just like you playing basketball. That's just what I did. You do it, and you get to the point where you get pretty decent at it because you do it a lot. And yeah, I was fortunate enough at Elk Grove I was #1 ranked junior in Sacramento, winning city championship a few times, doing that from Elk Grove. And, so that was great. Then was able to, get college scholarship after my performance in high school. So, that's where it kind of all started. Absolutely.
Now, like me, you had, did you have rivals at Elk Grove? Who was your rival, the best golfer that you would go after?
Good question. I don't know. There's a couple other guys who are pretty good, but it was kind of spread out in golf where, there's a few pretty good players, but we didn't cross paths as much, only in kind of tournaments outside of high school. One team, I think it was McClatchy. They were pretty good. We're all Metro League back then. And I think Christian Brothers, but I don't remember a lot of the individual players then. I really didn't have any, real rivals then that I kind of think off the top of my head. But but yeah, you just got to interact with a lot of different players and stuff like that. And as you moved on, then you started getting more equitable competition, kind of more of an even playing field. And I think you start developing a little bit of rivalry here and there, whether it's a different school when college or when you turn pro, and guys you want to beat, they want to beat you, and natural competition.
When I was in high school, we played a game and beat a team actually 22-1, which is really bizarre.
I know.
So
I would say I remember it was 4-0 at halftime. I remember.
It was really a bizarre game.
I
Have you ever had a golf match that was really bizarre?
I had a situation. Let me think about it. Off the top of my head, I remember going back to 4 or 5 of us traveled together. About 4 of us traveled back to just before the NCAA championship in 1979. We went back to Pinehurst, North Carolina, and played a tournament. It was called the North-South Amateur. And then you qualified to get a match play. There's 200 guys qualifying, I think. Then luckily I was exempt in the match play because I had a good performance at the United States Amateur the year before. But ironically, one of the guys that qualified, I played in the first round, was a guy I was traveled with, a room with, 200 guys. It was pretty, you couldn't really even guess that would happen. And I remember I was lucky enough to beat him, but that was pretty bizarre as far as that goes. As far as happenings, I've had some disappointments and some good stuff, bad stuff. One of my bigger disappointments was I was playing in the quarterfinals of the United States Amateur back in New Jersey, and the winner of that match got to the Masters. That you would take semifinalists back in the day, and I had a 2-up lead on the guy with about 7 holes to go, and I ended up losing. I don't remember how it ended, but But I've had my share of good stuff too. But tend to remember the stuff that's not good though.
Can you talk to us about San Jose State? For one thing, how does that happen?
Okay.
How did you end up down there?
Good question. Kind of back then, the recruiting, all that was really different. Like when you played and stuff, everything was kind of done out of the high school. You could see who was who and there. And back in golf, and then the high school guys really couldn't tell much. It was more done through junior tournaments and the other competitions that gave you, let the other coaches see you and figure out if you were any good or not. And I ended up going there. My dad went there. Ironically, it was the same coach as when my dad went there when I went there. And and they knew I was like #1 player in Sacramento. That's all they really knew. He didn't really, know much other than that because they didn't have the access today with the recruiting, with the computers and all that stuff. And I was fortunate to go there when my dad's good friend was one of the big recruiters down there, boosters, I should say, for San Jose State. He's a very successful man. We went down there and just kind of hooked up with a coach, and I was able to go there. And in 4 years, I did not play in the first tournament because the coach chose the team. And after that, it was my fall freshman year. I never missed an event. I qualified for every event, and was definitely earned my scholarship. And the coach was happy he had me. I was able to be a 2-time All-American there, and played for 4 years. So had some good times there, and remember bopping up a couple times in San Francisco, hanging out with you in those days. And that was bringing my buddies up. That was fun stuff. But it ended up being a good spot, and I was happy I went there.
So as you're leaving school, what are you thinking? Do you think you're ready to be a professional golfer?
That's a good question. I played against all these guys, and I was being a 2-time All-American, I played against all the guys and saw myself as an elite college player. And I don't know. I just had a lot of belief in myself, and knew how my game stacked up against my peers, and had a pretty positive outlook that I could be able to make the PGA Tour. So yeah, I was looking right ahead at it, not looking back at anything. No.
Can you talk about that first year?
Yeah, I got my first year I turned pro. I played mini tours, kicked around, was pretty successful. Then I was able to get my PGA Tour card, just my second PGA Tour school. And I was very young to get it back then, which was great. But like I said, it was what I expected to do. And first year was good as a learning experience, but I was physically very good player, and I matched up well. I was fortunate to be a pretty long driver of the golf ball, even for my size, and that really helped out there and gave me a lot of confidence. And had a lot of good tournaments, a lot of learning experiences. But in the end, I almost won a tournament at the end of the year, and was able to secure my playing privileges for the next year, and things were looking up at that point.
Now, I was lucky when I got into the league because I had guys like Marvin Webster and Truck Robinson to kind of mentor me. Did you have somebody that you could talk to who had been in, who had been playing, and could kind of help you along?
That's a great question, and that's sometimes this is where things get lost, Bill, in the team sport and individual sport. I think when you finished up, and a big thing in golf was this: if you didn't have, let's say I shot 73, and you got to play better than that. And it's like guys that ask how you played. You shot 73, they all wish you shot 74. So it's a little different dynamic there because everybody was out kind of for their own kind of. The lack of the team atmosphere kind of led to that. But I met some friends and acquaintances that have been on the tour for a while, and a lot of them some were positive here and there. I remember a couple guys. I remember playing the big tournament, and I hit a shot over the green in the last hole. I played with Roger Maltby back in the day, and because Roger was San Jose State too. We didn't go at the same time, but he's a real established player. And kind of aggravated. He goes, Don, don't. Because you still got to get this ball up and down. Focus. And I was playing really good in the tournament. He was kind of fell back that day, but I remember that to this day that, he didn't have to do that, and he was able to do that. So, to answer your question, not so much, but you had your friends out there and stuff like that. But like I said, whatever you shot, they always you shot one shot higher.
Now, I played in a lot of memorable games. What's your most memorable match you ever played in?
I played that last round of the Texas Open that year when I almost won. That was really a memorable day because the atmosphere and the amount of people and everything, and just getting through that day and trusting what I could do in that environment was great. Had some good matches. U.S. Amateur, I remember beating some guys. I remember those specifically. My most memorable day though, Bill, probably have to be the last round of the Tour School Finals, because that's the epitome of all golf tournaments. People think it's all these major championships and all this stuff, but it's not. It's the Tour School where you get your playing privileges and get on the tour. And I remember that last round. I remember standing over about a 3-foot putt in the last hole, thinking I got to make it to make it. I shook it in, and sure enough, that got me in. So that's probably my most memorable moment and round in my life was that, because of the importance of that. More so than when I played in the U.S. Open and British Open, all the other stuff. Much more there.
I wasn't the greatest athletic player, so when I saw it when I first got into the league, I played with some really just great players, Hall of Fame players. Give me some of the great players that you played with.
Okay. I played with Lee Trevino. I played with Tom Weisskopf. I played, never played with Jack Nicklaus. I played, let me think, there's a few other really great ones. But the ironic thing is I was telling somebody this the other day, this is kind of a weird deal. Probably the only guy in the world to do something, which is, kind of unique in itself. I played golf in a tournament with Tiger Woods when he was 16 years old. Let's qualify. I played golf in a tournament with Rory McIlroy when he was 16 years old. So I played with both those guys when they were both 16 years old. One was qualifying for the U.S. Open, the other was qualifying for the Australian Open. It was kind of unique. So those are pretty two decent players, I'm thinking. And then I always got to put my son in there. There was a better ball striker in the world than my son, so I got to put him in there too.
I can remember you telling me a story about when you were overseas, and I don't think this is when I got you sick, but there was a backup on the course and you couldn't play because there was some kind of animal on the green.
Yes, yes. It was when you got me sick. That probably was when Justy got. No, yeah, I was we were in South Africa. I played on that tour for like 5 different years. I was fortunate to win over there one year. I was the first American in 17 years to win over there. So that was a highlight too. I guess I forgot, but that was exciting for me. And yeah, we were playing a tournament down in a place called Palabora, and it was kind of a mining camp thing, but it bordered what was called Kruger National Game Park, which is, we're basically deepest, darkest Africa with all the animals. So we got to a par 4. We walked. There's a group of about 4 groups on the tee, and we go, "What the heck's going on? What's the holdup?" Well, the guy says, "Oh, there's a lion in the bunker by the green." So we go, "Okay." I'm sizing everybody up. Who can I outrun? Because all I got to do is outrun somebody. I'm gonna be all right.
Wait, so how did you do in the tournament with the lion? How did you do? Was that the tournament you won, Don?
No, but I played great that week. I think I had a top 10 that week. I played really well. But I do, because I only played there once. I played really well that week. But that was yeah. Then we played holes where the 17th hole was a big lake in front. You walk over this footbridge. It wasn't much bigger, taller than the lake, and there were hippos in the lake, bathing and stuff like this. Then we find out later that the animal kills more men in Africa is the hippo. We went, oh my gosh. We didn't even think about it at the time until we were given that information. Went, oh, great. So yeah, that was the same golf course. Yeah, it was absolutely crazy.
I was just going to ask you, I think just one of the interesting things, obviously we could ask you a lot about the differences between team sports and an individual sport like golf, but what made you a successful golfer and what could have made you even more successful?
Good question. I think my determination, because I wasn't the biggest guy in the world, so I kind of carried that to the way where I used my determination. I just wanted to be better than the other guys. I trained myself to hit the golf ball a long way, and just because I felt I could do that, and I just had the inner thing, as Bill knows very well, you have to have that inner killer instinct and to get you through. Though I think what would have made me better, Steve, was probably that I not got hurt. I got hurt after that first year. I damaged my hand, and I tried to continue playing. I hit a tree root in a tournament in Mexico. I was invited to a tournament in Mexico. There's only like about 5 Americans invited. I was one. It was great. I think Crenshaw, Trevino, Ray Floyd, myself, and Fred Couple. That was it, because I had a pretty successful first year, and I tried to come next year. I was only a 22-year-old kid. I didn't have a manager. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have anybody to really direct me. And, I would have taken probably a full year of a medical, which I had my son do. My son damaged his thumb. I told him, look, learn my lesson, take a whole full year of medical and get well 100% before you go back. So that is the number one thing, Steve, or, who knows, I might have been a pretty good player through the years, but if it was go back in time moments, that would be mine in a heartbeat right there. Nah, hit that shot, hit that tree root. Things could have turned out.
That's happened to people before, right? They try and get back too quickly and an injury derails them. Bill, I'm sure you know tons of people that's happened to, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm number one poster boy for that. Absolutely, yeah.
So Don, talk about teaching. What led you into that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was still going overseas playing after my injury. When I went to Africa a bunch of times, I went to Europe, and I went other places and still played and still had the, desire to play and still hung in there for a while, and then had a situation. I was heading back to Africa actually in 1989, and a situation arose in my personal life and jumped into a golf. What am I going to do now? And so I went to work at a golf course and started teaching a little bit. And I found that was kind of my niche in the game, so I could still be with the game. I started thinking, I sold real estate for a while. stuff, then towards teaching golf because it's something I did. It was easy for me, and I was very good at it. It's easy for me, so I thought, that's probably what I should stick with and do. It's what I know most about, and through the years, become pretty decent at what I do. So. Yeah, so, it's just, 30 years of it, Bill, 30 years of teaching golf. I figured I'd given over 80,000 golf lessons in my life. So when people come up and say, I bet you haven't seen this before, and I laugh, I go, yeah, probably about 1,000 times.
Well, what are the kind of things people talk about, like a hitch in their swing, or you've seen probably every kind of malfunction in the swing, including Bill's? Yeah.
Yeah. Bill's not bad, though. Bill's not bad at all.
No, he's very good. And he's talked about it. He's talked about how it doesn't mean as much to him for his golfer or other people he plays with take it very personally, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's, it's kind of like this when I'm teaching guys and stuff. It's when you ask me about, there are typical flaws players will have. They're typical flaws that I see more typical of certain players, but you just get a feel. There's nothing. It's funny, Steve, because people will call me, will tell me I'll do, this, blah 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 on the phone about their game, and I just smile. So I'll be up there, and they can talk to me for a while about it. They make two swings. Okay, this is what's going on. I understand your interpretation, what you feel. I always see myself as the same as marriage counselor, Steve, and that. Sometimes we see couples and they kind of don't know what's going on between each other, but it's very evident. And when same as a golfer, they think they know what's going on, but usually it's not even close. So I really enlighten some people. A lot of people are very, very happy. They come and literally look at me and say, I never would have thought that. So there's nothing universal, but there are some consistent flaws that people do make, yes.
And what makes the best golf? Everybody's so interested in improving their golfing game. What makes a good student?
That's the great. What makes a good student, or what makes what's a higher ceiling? Okay, a higher ceiling is a good student is just somebody does what I tell them to do. You'd be surprised. A lot of people don't. They'll come back and I'll say, "Well, did you even tell you what I did you do?" I mean, I can tell them the very next lesson they come back the first swing whether they've done what I want them to do. What makes a better golfer, ceiling wise? People have asked me that before. And I've come to the conclusion that very simple thing. It's whether that person played golf as a kid or not. Very simple. Like to me, one great athlete, one crap athlete. If the crap athlete played golf as a kid, he will have a higher ceiling.
I guess that speaks also to the whole Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours idea, right? Like you and your son have probably played so many hours of golf, right? And you could get more hours if you start when you're younger. You could avoid bad habits, and right.
Absolutely. I think when we get older, I think our brain gets too active, and I have students that come at me sometimes, and they'll tell me 15 minutes dissertation on what they're trying to do and everything, and I look at them, I think, God, how can this guy even hit a ball? His brain's completely saturated with all this stuff. Yeah, you're right. It's the innate thing you do as a kid, and then the repetition of the muscle memory, 10,000 hours, whatever that number is, to change what you default to something that's going to be a little bit more, proficient in creating a good golf shot. And it's very, very hard for people, but people can make the change if they want. But it takes some work. It definitely takes some work, but it can be done. I've seen it done many times.
Talk to me a little bit about, and I don't want to use a lot of time with Spence because Spence has his own story. But what do you think made him such a great ball striker and at such a young age?
Yeah, when he was young, as you know, Bill, he played baseball his whole life. He played baseball until he was 15. And it's kind of unique the way that I got him into golf, and I'm still with, I'll tell you guys this here too, is kind of this. Once I went through it and did it my life, it's such a hard road and all this stuff, I really didn't want him to do it. He was a very gifted baseball kid, but when he was like 10 or 11, I would sign him up for tournaments. he never played golf for recreation or for pleasure. I always wanted him to associate golf with competition. So he never played for fun, never went out with his buddies. It was always, this is what you do on the range. And every time he played around the golf, it was in competition. So I want him always feel that. So I figured if he ever wanted to really do this someday, that we were set the groundwork for that. And then when he decided he kind of wanted to maybe gravitate towards that way, I said, okay, I'm going to teach you the perfect mechanics and fundamentals of the golf swing. I need you to do this because I'm not going to, if you're going to do this, we're going to go all in and do this. Make you the best player. All right, well, we can make you. And he was very good with that. And we broke stuff down and gave him drills to do, and which gave him to be a wonderful physical golfer. Wonderful. Then he had that, inside guts that he had that, going back when he played 5 state championship baseball tournaments, and he pitched 4 of them, and he didn't throw one pitch in the tournament the whole time until state championship game. The coach always gave him the ball because he said he had the biggest whats, and he wanted him with the ball, and that's why I think it carried over for golf for him. He was, the individualism was good.
One of the last things we're going to talk about is when is Don Levin going to be in the senior tour? That's what I'm waiting for.
Unless they got a super one. Don Levin tried to qualify a couple times. I went to the finals like about 4 or 5 times. Went back to Florida. Didn't quite. It's a tough little deal. They got about 5 cards they give out to everybody in the whole country. So, and then you teaching all the time and trying to. I try to qualify for a few events here and there. Knock on the door, Senior Open and the Pebble one. So it's I don't know. I think those days are gone, but I can still compete. I can still play okay.
Well, we, along with myself and my buddies, of course, my family, we would love to see it back out there. So, for us, you are our best golfer we've ever seen. So we would just really love to see it. We'd love to see Spence play.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets back out there. He's playing as good as ever. Just needs the opportunity. Hopefully he'll be okay.
Steve, maybe with the closing question.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about how did you're talking about like training Spencer and coaching him. How did you avoid being the great Santini or, being a domineering parent coaching your son?
Yeah. That is a great question because we all see that. Absolutely. We all see that. Some for the good, some for the not good. I tell all my students, I'll get to that one second. I tell all my students and their parents come, hey, look, parent involvement is absolutely great. You need the parent to be involved in what the kid does, all this stuff. And that's a great question. We call it dad buckets, coach buckets, try to compartmentalize things. And very, very hard at a lot of times, Steve, as you can imagine, because it was hard to separate that on occasion. But the thing was like this, it'd be like, he would know when every time we would have a little back and forth about something, he'd say, he'd kind of end up doing what I want to do. He'd say, Dad, you were right. Well, 99 of 100 times he'd say, Dad, you were right. And always acquiesced and did what I kind of wanted him to do. And it worked out pretty good. So that was a tough dynamic. No doubt about it. It was hard to coordinate the two. It really was.
Well, it seems like you did an amazing job. So congratulations,
Well, thanks. It's hard. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's still going on. So
yeah. Oh yeah, we're
still playing. Well, Donnie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks.
We really, really appreciate it. We're looking to get together this summer. Maybe we can get Steve to come down and play a little golf. Now that would be a good chuckle.